So the big question is this: how do investors like us, who don't have a PhD in finance or millions to start investing, how do we grow our bank accounts to build real savings and retirements and yet still have the time to do what we really love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hey, okay, so some of you guys might know, I totally failed like math last semester. It was super bad, super sad. I don't know what I did wrong. Like, I was trying so hard. I put in hours, I put in all the effort. I just couldn't figure out what went wrong. And until, at the beginning of the semester, and I was looking at this work from my buddy, and he made me remember this. The professor said, like, if you want to get good at anything, if you want to like have really amazing results, what you have to do is you have to practice the art of what you're actually doing. You have to actually do what you're doing. So when I was studying for this math class last semester, all I would do to study for exams was like read the textbook and then watch tons of videos on Khan Academy about like how to do this math stuff, and then read and review my notes and research all my notes and stuff. And I would practice, not on practice problems, but instead like by reviewing my work and by reviewing my notes. And that's what a lot of people do when they try to get into personal finance, when they try to get into investing. Like, instead of looking at the problems, they look at the notes, they look at the courses, they look at the reviews, they look at the oversights, they look at the textbook, quote unquote. They go up and they Google. All they do is look at Investopedia. And that's how most people, and that's especially how I used to try to prepare for things. Until I had this mindset shift that my teacher shared with me. So basically what he said was, if you want to get the best results, what you have to do is actually practice what you're going to be tested on. So, in math, what I'm going to be tested on are problems. In physics, what I'm going to be tested on are problems. So it doesn't make sense for me to review a book. It makes sense for me to practice by practicing on problems, because you're not going to be tested on how well you know the subject. You're going to be tested on how well you can answer problems. And you can do practice problems to prepare for that. So my buddy here was doing all his practice problems. He made me realize this, and I was like, wow, it's so more critical. You get such better results when you actually practice what matters in the end of the day, instead of practicing stuff that actually isn't going to have that big of an impact. So a lot of people, you spend literally years looking at the market and standing on the sidelines saying, oh, I'll invest in the index once the market crashes, or oh, I'll invest later on, or blah, 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 blah. And it flat out doesn't work. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have an impact. And, if you don't invest your money, you're not going to get a return. That's just how it works. Similarly, I didn't invest my time into practice problems, and because of that, I did not get a quality result. I didn't know the information because I was putting my effort, my energy, my time into the wrong thing. And so here's sort of the simple mindset shift you have to make. Instead of practicing the theoretical, instead of practicing the notes or the things that you aren't actually going to do, you need to practice what you're actually going to do. So with investing, if you want to get better at trading stocks, obviously to a certain point, you read the textbook the first time before you do the practice problems. You go through a course the first time before you actually start investing. But once you go through the material, once you understand it, the biggest thing you can do is implement it by practicing on real, actual performance investments. The most important thing you can do to work on a math test is do math problems. The most important thing you can do to work on a physics test after you read the textbook is do physics problems. And so if you want to get better at investing, you need to invest. Now, with practice problems, it's low stakes, right? You take like a small quiz or a practice quiz or something, and if you get a question wrong, you know what? Maybe it's like a teeny % of your grade. Because, at least in college, like a vast, like probably, I think 80% of my math grade came from the test, and I got 50s on all the tests. I didn't know what I was doing. And, if I get a 75 on a quiz, on a practice quiz, or if I get a 50 on a quiz, like that doesn't really matter as much as the 80% of my grade at the test. And so what you want to do is you want to make it sort of a low stakes environment where you can seriously and intentionally practice whatever it is you're trying to do. So obviously with academics or whatever, you take a test and you figure out what you don't know and you get better at it by actually doing it. But with investing, like obviously, it's a little bit different. You can't really do that. So here's the little mindset shift that you can use. Instead of having like $1,000 positions, $10,000 positions, $40,000 positions, and jumping in really hard, like start off with a small investment, maybe 10, 20, 40 bucks, 100 bucks. Make your max loss $10, right? Set your stop loss so that you're not losing maybe more than 10%. And what you're doing is you're practicing actually doing it. And that's really the most important thing. Like, there's a really huge amount of education that comes at the beginning. And that's critical. That's key. Like, you've got to have that to start succeeding. But once you have that, like, all you have to do is implement it and practice it. And you get better and better by doing it, right? And so that's really really the huge shift, is instead of focusing on the external, instead of focusing on the theoretical, instead of focusing on, how many investing quizzes can I pass, or how much do I know about, a company's financial report, how much can I identify on their balance sheet or crap like that, or how many setups do I know, how many, technical indicators do I know. I have a new student, I just met him last week, and he knows one or two things. He knows VWAP, and he knows how to do downward and upward. He knows how to do wedges. Not even symmetrical wedges, only downward wedges and only upward wedges. And in the information that I've taught him in like the past 4 days, he's already gone out, made his first investment, started implementing it, and he's like mastering wedges better than anybody I know. Why? Because instead of just practicing or looking at past performance or looking at like a bunch of really, really big companies, how they theoretically would have performed, he went out there and he, screened for stocks like you teach, and then he freaking applied it and did it. Not only did that manifest itself into actual money for him, but now he's going to have a much, 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 much deeper understanding than anybody that's just sitting on the sidelines. They're not actually putting their money where their mind is, their money where the education is, and investing in assets. That's the shift. That's the difference. It all comes down to, not going through your notes over and over and over again, but instead actually applying it to a worksheet. I don't know what this is, my roommate stuff, but I think this is linear algebra. And so it's really critical, like if you want to get better, you get better by doing what you're actually tested on. I was just constantly practicing on the wrong things, and it created the wrong results in my life. And I just wish someone would have slapped me in the face and told me this earlier, because it probably would have meant that I wouldn't have failed calc the first time, which kind of sucks. But you know what? It just happens, and now you know, right? And so I kind of had this painful experience, and now you don't have to have it because you can do the right thing. You can focus not on practicing by like watching a bajillion videos on investing, but instead by actually investing. Or really whatever it is that you want to get better at. It's just a very, very, very simple thing. Like you can read, usually what I'll do is if I get into a new subject, like I'll find 4, 5, 6 books or something on it that are really, 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 really good. And what I can do is I can read books really, really quickly, right? So I can go through maybe 10, 20 books on a topic and then take that information and then go start applying it. So I remember probably 8 months ago, I was reading tons of health books, stuff like The 4-Hour Body. I mean, it's phenomenal, right? And then I took that and I started applying it, and I made changes in my diet, my routine, my workouts. I didn't change that much. I love what I'm doing. It's phenomenal. But you go through the material and you can kind of piece out the stuff that works and the stuff that you can apply, and then you just start doing that over and over and over and over again, and then you get a feel of what you should actually do, not because you read it in a book, or not because you sat on the silence, but because you actually took action on it and started working to actually make it happen. And so that's the key. That's the big message today. Is instead of practicing on things that you're not actually going to do, instead of practicing, counting calories, or practicing, watching videos, or practicing stuff that in reality isn't going to be that big of an impact. In reality, most likely will never happen again in your life. Like if you're practicing how to do things that you're never going to be tested on, that you're never going to actually implement, that you're never actually going to do, that's not a good use of time. And instead what you want to do is you want to practice the things that you're actually going to do in the future, and you want to get better at the things that you're actually going to do in the future. I think kind of one last example here, and then I'll kind of put it away. I remember a long time ago, I got a unicycle for my birthday. I was like so excited. I was like, holy crap, it's gonna be the coolest thing ever. Some of you guys know like I love Heelys. They're amazing. And so I'm like, Heelys are awesome. I should get a unicycle. A unicycle would be awesome. And I probably spent, 3 months, like every single day. I'd put in like an hour a day trying to get really, really, really great at this unicycle. And I got like pretty solid. I could make it like 30 feet. And I could probably keep on going. But in reality, like, is that actually going to be something that I pursue deeply in the future? Like, the answer is no, right? Is that going to be something I do for fun? Probably not. Like, Heelys are just so cool. Like, if you guys don't have Heelys, they're basic. And so, there's no reason for me to split my attention on that. There's no reason for me to dedicate my time to that. Like, I could spend that time trading stocks. It'd be the coolest thing ever. It'd be way more fun. And it would have a much greater actual monetary impact. And so, think about stuff that maybe you're doing just for the heck of it, and ask yourself, like, is that really getting me closer to that goal? Is that really getting me closer to the objective? And if it's not, figure out a way you can cut it and then turn it into something that you're actually going to do in the future, so that you can practice something you're actually going to do in the future, so you can get better at something that you're actually going to do in the future. That's the big message for today, guys. Hope you got a ton of value out of this training. Go out there, apply it, absolutely crush it, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye. Want more stock market secrets? If so, you'll get your free copy of my best-selling book, 9 to Noon. You get your free copy plus $11,176 of unannounced bonuses it took me years to uncover, completely for free at 9tonoonsecrets.com. Inside 9 to Noon, you'll find the top 38 secrets you can use to double your portfolio every 2 years and make upwards of 10% daily.